to explaining the unexplainable. We are here. We definitely are here. I've got my sidekick. I call him my sidekick, Bishop Dr. Joshua Sparks, the exorcist. Wow. With the St. Michael Order, Sacred Order of Exorcists. It's great to have you here. And then we've got my wonderful, amazing friend, Becky McKiddy-Gydesen. She's not only just my friend, but she's amazing. She has helped save my property, my life. I don't know. She's like, I can't even say enough. Like, she gave me this amazing gift of like believing in me and validating what I had seen. And I don't want to talk too much because usually we have this amazing intro by Joshua. So are you ready for this, Joshua? The big.
Yes, I am.
Okay, we'll take it away.
Well, you're going to have to excuse me tonight, Becky, because my coughing's horrible. So if I mute a lot, don't pay no attention to me. It took us 4 hours last night to record an hour program between my talking with Dr. Kelly and my coughing. So she was very gracious.
Oh.
But welcome to Explaining the Unexplainable, the show where faith, curiosity, and the supernatural collide. I'm Bishop Joshua Sparks, joined by my amazing co-host, Mercedez Lucke Benedict. And together, we dive deep into the mysteries that defy logic, challenge belief systems, and open doors to realms beyond the ordinary. Tonight, we are thrilled to welcome a very special guest, someone who's not only investigated the unknown, but as a trusted friend to the W.E.B.B radio network. She has a program on here, a trusted friend to Mercedez, and tonight she's going to be a trusted friend of mine. So excited to be able to talk to her and to just kind of pick her brain a little bit. From the Tucson Ghost Society, Becky has dedicated her life to understanding the paranormal with integrity and compassion. She's got some good qualities that a lot of people nowadays in the paranormal community and in the religious community are lacking. She's the one who came to Mercedez property and through the investigation offered invaluable help during one of her most intense experiences in her life. And, she's not just an investigator. She's a connector, through her program. And I hope I get this right. Everything Under the Moon. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Everything Under the Moon. She's been bridging communities, sharing stories, and bringing people together for years. And I think it was on her show, Mercedez, when you first met Stan, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So that was an introduction that changed the course of even this program here that we're on tonight. So tonight, let me say this to all of you watching all across this nation and around the world in all 24 time zones, whether it be morning, afternoon, evening, or night. Prepare for an unforgettable conversation as we peel back the layers of the unknown with someone who doesn't just study the paranormal. She lives it, she breathes it, and she helps others find answers in the unexplainable. So, Becky, welcome to Explaining the Unexplainable.
Thank you. I don't know what to say after all this incredible introduction. So it's an honor. Thank you.
You're welcome. But it's all true. You do have an amazing, resume. And I've always write 50 questions for every guest that comes on here. And I know we try to go back and forth, Mercedez and I do. So if it's okay, we're going to just kick it off. We're just going to go with it. So what first drew you to the world of the paranormal and paranormal investigation?
Growing up in a haunted house. I've been exposed to the paranormal basically my whole entire life, and that led me to a bunch of questions and wanting answers. At first, I was kind of scared, I guess, to get into it because I was basically told that, nobody talks about it. You're weird if you talk about it. You're crazy if you talk about it. But then eventually, I found out that other people do. And so I basically said, screw it. I'm going to talk about it too.
So I'm not the only one that's being called weird and crazy.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Oh, I've been called worse too, but
You know what I always tell people like that though, Becky? I say, listen, that's fine. Call me what you want to, but I've had worse things said about me by better people. That always gets them upset. So, so you lived in a haunted house.
yes.
And, you know, a lot of people that have never experienced a place that has spirits, that has spirit activity, doesn't understand the sheer horror that can bring into a person's life. Sometimes it does bring horror. Sometimes it scares people to the point where they call somebody like me to come over and do an assessment and investigation and perform a ritual. Now, I've had some people, like my grandmother, God rest her soul, she's been dead for 3 years, but when she was little, they lived in a house on Smith Street, and she said she used to dance with a ghost in the kitchen. So, you know, kids have a different outlook on things. So how old was you when you first started becoming sensitive to these things? How, was you just a young kid? Was you a teenager? Was you a young adult?
Well, my experiences are kind of, I guess, funny. I grew up in the haunted house. I always knew I wasn't alone. I was always like one of those kids that people thought was really weird because we would go to like cemeteries, and this is the weirdest thing, but we went to a cemetery for a project. It was something to do with last names. I can't remember exactly what it was, but we were walking around the cemetery, and I was the one, and I was probably like 10 years old, telling other people, don't step on the graves, be respectful. If you see flowers, pick them up. If someone was sitting on one of those bench tombstones, I was like, talk to them since you're sitting there. And I was getting weird looks like, why? They're dead. They don't care. So there was always something that I knew that needed to be respected. But I never had a major experience that I knew of until I was in my 20s. And then later on to find out I was having experiences way before that, but I didn't realize they were experiences. I thought they were just weird things that were happening. So I guess I've been sensitive my whole life, and I just didn't really realize it.
Awesome.
Hey, guess what? I have somebody that has just come in. Joe? Yeah. Can you come here for a minute? Sorry. Somebody wants to say hi to Becky and Joshua.
Oh, hi, everybody.
Hey, Joe.
That was so cool how you just appeared.
Yeah, materialized. Yeah, Star Trek all along here. So, yeah.
You missed a great show last week with Joe and Desiree and I.
I know I wanted to be here on your birthday to celebrate with you, but this old preacher was sick.
Yeah.
You know, I've been battling with the beats. But you know what? We keep pushing forward. And, you know, Joe, I want to congratulate you on your success. And I'm so proud of you. And, man, I can't wait to see you again in the flesh.
Not bad. I can't wait to give you a big hug, my friend. And same to you, Becky.
Becky, we'll see Becky.
Yeah, I'll see you guys on Saturday.
On the Oasis then, correct?
Sweet.
Cool.
Well, now, does Becky live close to you? Yeah. Does Becky live close to you all?
So she's in Tucson. So it's about 40 minutes, Becky, maybe?
About 45 minutes, roughly.
Yeah.
Depending on how fast Becky drives, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Depends on the freeways.
Yeah, that's so. Well, thank you for stopping by.
It was my honor. Thank you, everybody. Love you all.
Thank you. We love you. Thank you for just watching disappear. Watch. That just reminded me of the movie Ghost, where he disappeared into heaven.
Oh my God. Well, I'm glad he could say hi because he missed you last week. Last week, Joshua, he's like, Joshua's not going to be there. And I'm like, I'll get Desiree.
I missed him too. I missed you both. Something horrible.
Well, we got Becky here today. So we are so excited. I want to say something that when I first, found Becky, I think I had already looked the year before, but I didn't call her. And then when I really was looking, I just looked at all these other groups and I'm like, no, because they all just no. And then Becky's just it was just reeking of integrity and science and facts. And like, I just thought, no, this is the one. And luckily, did come out. Eventually she was able to come out.
It's
And
awesome.
it was right. She has always been, I mean, the whole team, every single time the teams come out, they're just so kind, and they just do. I mean, like, I show images of that, like this. I mean, it was like a TV movie almost. Like, it was like all these people here, and I'm like, wow, and all this equipment everywhere. The first time, especially, it's another time, but it was quite a production she has, with not like gimmicks, but like real stuff. So I'm sure you have 100 questions. I know. So go ahead and keep
I
asking.
usually
I know,
just
Becky.
I usually just write about 50.
No.
Some people like to have the questions sent to them so they can prepare.
Oh, I know.
But I like to write them like 5 minutes, about 30 minutes before the show. That way I'm not, my brain just operates funny. I think I've got, I know that, but when I was a kid, there was no such thing as ADHD. And I literally have to unplug my brain to go to bed because it just, So I want to ask you, so many people want to know this. I know I want to know this. How did the Tucson Ghost Society come to be?
Good story.
In reality, it just fell in my lap. I've been curious. As I said earlier, I got really curious. And when I did find out that people were talking about this stuff, and that, there were people out there that did ghost tours and investigations, I went looking, and I found a ghost tour. I went on the ghost tour, which basically led me to owning the Tucson Ghost Company. And when I got the company, I knew, I was like, I'm going to be giving tours, and people are going to be coming to me about paranormal concerns, paranormal problems. I don't know what to tell them. So I found a paranormal team. Like Mercedez, I did a bunch of research, and I found one that I felt would be good. And I contacted them, explained who I was, and said I wanted to meet with them because I wanted a good team to refer people to. And they invited me onto their team. It wasn't even anything I expected. They trained me. They, showed me everything to do. And what ended up happening was there was one place, and I can name it because it's no longer there, the Bum Steer here in Tucson. I don't know, Mercedes, you're aware of it. Yeah. The Bum Steer, I got a phone call about wanting me to do an investigation. And this building, I can't explain it. It called to me. It was like, I dreamt of this building. I knew I had to investigate it. But the team I was on did not have the time or the people or, anything like that to do it. So I politely asked them, if I'm not stepping on any toes, can I take a couple people and go and investigate this building? I have to investigate it. I can't explain why, but I have to. And the founder of the other team said, no, go right ahead, and he even came, looked at our setup, made sure everything was okay, took our picture, everything. And then that was the first investigation of Tucson Ghost Society. And the other team basically disbanded. They aren't doing it anymore. So I think that was their way of telling me, go ahead, make your own group. So that's how Tucson Ghost Society was formed. It was basically me wanting to refer people, to get answers. And I learned how to do it and formed my own group. And to edit, I can't always give answers because I don't always know everything, but I do my best.
Well, that's wonderful. Behind every ministry, behind every investigative group, there's a philosophy. So I want to ask you, not just from the standpoint of the Tucson Ghost Society, but you personally, what is your philosophy on investigating the supernatural?
Be a skeptic.
Really?
Basically, every time I walk into a place, I am there to try to debunk first. I want to find the human causes. I want to find, reasons behind it. Nothing drives me crazy like watching YouTube videos of groups that, have their equipment and they're near something that's setting off the equipment and they're like, oh my God, it's haunted. And it drives me crazy. I'm like, no, it's the equipment. It's what you're next to. you have to study, you have to learn. It's nonstop studying, it's nonstop learning. You have to know what your equipment does. You can't just go in assuming everything is a ghost. And that bugs me that paranormal teams do that, because they are not helping the field at all. You have to be a skeptic.
Awesome. You know
Right.
what? Give me her email address. I'm going to send her an application to the Sacred Order of St. Michael Order of Exorcists, because we need people like her on our investigating teams.
Well,
People that go in and do the assessment and do try to prove, you're a skeptic. You go in and you do everything you can to check off everything that it may or may not be. And we have an issue. We train people, we train men and women and teach them our assessment process. It's very important. And I talk about it a lot. I talk about it on videos that I do. I was well trained by our Archbishop. I've been a student of his for many years and a leader within our order. But so many people want to automatically say that it's the devil. There was a case one time. Everybody in the house had symptoms of possession, not just oppression, but possession. And we sent an investigator into the house. And of course, there was nothing in the house that was malevolent. There was no Ouija boards, no tarot cards, no, tables where they could, done seances, no altars where they sacrificed little kids or goats or chickens or anything like that. Just a normal blue collar family. So we also send a team in that inspects the structure of the house. They went underneath the crawl space and found black mold. They removed the mold. The family symptoms went away. So it's not always the devil. It's not always something supernatural. And I thank you for that. That was a great, great answer. Very good answer.
yeah, and I don't know. I know Becky isn't always on like social media all the time, so I don't know if she's even really seen some of the things that I've been doing with you guys. But yeah, Becky, that it is something amazing, and I think it would be awesome if you might look into it, because we do need the paranormal teams, and you get to stay a paranormal team, right, Bishop Joshua?
Yes.
So, and then don't forget, we got to talk. She also has an amazing story about. She is like Tucson's original, the ghost walks, right, or the tours, the historic tours.
Yes.
And there's issues with that now, the stupid people, because of people, some people won't say, but go ahead and tell that story, Becky.
Unfortunately, like I said, Tucson Ghost Company, I am the original tour. I've had this for 12 years. I started in 2013, been investigating pretty much ever since then too. We have some major companies that are nationwide moving in, and these nationwide people, I don't name names, I never do, but they're not good people. In fact, they're being sued by some other small tour companies and some other businesses, but unfortunately they take over Google, they take over everything, and they claim to be the best ghost tour in town, and they kind of make the small company go in a back burner type thing, and we're not seen as much. And I know my company and many other local ghost tours are suffering because of it, unfortunately. It's sad. Very sad.
But the people know you, and
I hope so.
It's all over. Like, I've known you a while now, but I know the history of you. So you have, I just think it'll all work out. You're authentic.
I hope so. I've been going through a lot of turmoil, I guess you can say, with the company right now, to where it's very close to closing down, and I don't want to close it down because this is my passion. So I'm hoping to make it through October, and I'm hoping to get some bookings. So fingers crossed.
Well, let's do this. Instead of you crossing your fingers and toes, let's put some prayer behind that too. Right?
Say it. All right.
Give you a supernatural push.
I need all the push I can get. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I believe in prayer. I believe prayer changes things. It changes our circumstances, and I'll be praying.
Thank
because
you.
I believe you're welcome. I believe that God can just give you that extra shove. And well, actually, he'll be in front of you. He'll be doing the push, and you just follow him right on in.
Right. Well, I know this is what I'm meant to do, because if it wasn't, everything wouldn't have just came to me like it did. I mean, literally, things fell into my lap when it came to this. It's been a struggle since, and I've had to work my butt off. But it literally came to me. All I did was go look for a ghost tour. That's all I did, and everything else came to me.
Right. And she has an amazing husband and daughters. Uh, Lots of wonderful animals, so a beautiful family. And like when we did the Tucson, the paranormal, it's the first paranormal. What was it called?
Paracon,
Tucson
Tucson
Paracon.
Paracon, which I'm hoping
Yeah.
to do another one, but we'll see.
Yeah. But I mean, her whole family was there. I mean, it was like amazing. They were like this crew, this team, this family. I just thought they were awesome. Like, I just have the highest respect for them as a family. So I just pray this works for her. Plus, you've got this new book, Becky. So that's a big open of that's something big. So this is a big deal of you writing your first book.
Yeah, it is. It's called I'm Paranormal, My Life as a Paranormal Investigator. It's in the editing stages right now. As soon as it's done editing, I am going to be looking for a publisher. It talks about everything that I personally have investigated. So everything in this book is what I've gone through. It's nothing to do with just, going to random places and finding out the stories. It's all personal.
Wow.
And Bishop Joshua's writing some books now too, so he's in those stages too, so he understands.
And I need to learn to just do one at a time. I got 3 or 4 of them done, and Des keeps saying, "You gonna send them to me?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then, we was talking about it on September the 1st or 2nd, and now it's the 16th of September. What on earth's going on with time? It's like it's on fast forward mode, and I've got more years behind me than I do ahead of me. So I wanted to slow down a little bit. You know what I mean? I got a lot of work to do. So let me ask you this, your beliefs about the afterlife or spirituality, have they changed since you began doing this work?
Yes and no. I was raised Catholic. I went to a Catholic school. I stopped going to Catholic church when I moved out here because we couldn't find the Catholic community that we were used to. We were used to a really small community. Out here, they're huge. So basically raised with those Catholic beliefs. But as soon as I started doing this, I've noticed that some religions kind of turned against me. And some friends turned against me. I was accused of working with the devil. I had certain religious people throw things at me. I didn't lose my faith, though. My faith actually got stronger, but just not in a religion community. So I like to say that I'm spiritual. I don't cling to any religion. In fact, I always tell my children, be a good person. If you want to become, to a certain religion, do your studying. I'm curious about all religions. I'm like, what do they believe? What do they believe? I keep an open mind. But when it comes to spiritual, I am a strong, strong believer in afterlife, strong, strong believer in good versus evil. I do believe that there is more good out there. You just have to really, really dig to find it. Especially lately in this world, you really need to dig to find it. But I am the type of person that I believe you put out to the world what you want to get back. So I'm always preaching, anyone who's on my Facebook, you'll see I'm always saying, be kind, be compassionate, be respectful. That is a huge thing for me, is respect. And that's, I think, where my spirituality is just that, I believe in that goodness. And, I, choose to call, God. But I'm not attached to any religion anymore. And I think that was just because it's not the Catholics in particular, but different religions kind of showed me a lot of hatred, which I did not like. I had some friends that as soon as they found out this, and they're like really religious, they told me they couldn't be friends with me anymore because I was working with the devil. So it kind of made me, kind of iffy on different religions. So,
well, religion is man-made.
Exactly.
I stopped being religious a long time ago, and I lost a lot of friends too. People are like, "You're crazy. You're called to be an exorcist." What? What do you mean an exorcist? That was a movie in the 70s, but there ain't no such thing as exorcist today. And when God called me to this ministry, He told me to relieve myself of all religious things and to have a relationship with Him. I'm not your typical bishop. I believe, Becky, that you are the temple of God's Spirit. I don't think that the buildings are.
Exactly.
He doesn't dwell in brick and stone. He dwells in us. And, we spend too much time worshiping what we should use, and we use what we should worship. We use God for a personal debit card, or, when we get in trouble, we call on God. But the things He gives us to use, the tools He gives us to use, we worship those things, like our churches and our temples and our big, bell towers and our fancy seminaries and things that we build as human beings. But that's a problem. And Jesus had the same issue in His day, and the religious people killed Him over it. So listen. You are going to take some flack for not saying that you're part of this group or that group. And, somebody asked me one time, they said, "What brand are you?" And I'm like, "What?" Well, what brand are you, church? I said, "I'm a Jesus man. That's all I am." But I'm glad that's a good answer. I'm glad you got away from religion, because religion is bad.
There's so many cults out there too. In fact, my daughter and I were watching some, of the documentaries about cults, and I'm like, this is what you need to be aware of. Don't let these, influence you. And she's like, scared to, like, talk to people now. She's like, no, I don't want this. But I definitely believe that what you have is between you and, whatever you choose, to call the higher being, if it's God or something else. And I don't believe you need a church to do that,
Right.
And I know of church people that are bad people, so going to church every Sunday, putting your butt in the pew does not make you a good person. Right. You need to live that all the time. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people have forgotten that.
You're right. It's just like I told somebody one time, going to church don't make you any more Christian than sitting in the garage makes you a Cadillac. And that's a good point that you brought up. Something that I was just thinking about, because I like to ask this, especially when people do investigations. Describe your most intense case that your team's investigated.
Let's see. There's been a couple. I know one of them. It's so funny. It's actually really funny, because it was one of my first residential cases that I did, and there's this little girl who was sensitive, and she complained that there was a shadow man that they did not like. And there's also a little girl. They didn't mind the little girl. It was the shadow man. So where the shadow man was always seen, I went and I stood there trying to communicate. And I need to back up for a minute, because when I went to this case, I had a sinus infection. And so I kept, coughing and everything, but I wanted to make sure the resident knew that I wasn't contagious. It was an infection. And, because my allergies, had acted up. So I'm back there and I'm feeling really, really sick. Like, I was fine except for, the coughing or whatever. But I started feeling nauseous. So I had to excuse myself and go to the other room. And as soon as I left that area, I felt fine. And so my husband, he's a skeptic, I'll tell you that, but he's also very logical. And he came out to me and he goes, "So what happened?" And I'm like, "I got really sick back there." And he goes, "You need to go back there and stand up to whatever it was." And I was like, "You're right." So I go back there and I was like, "Listen, you're not allowed to make me sick. You're not allowed to threaten this family anymore. I don't care who you are, but this is not allowed. And if you cannot kind of like behave yourself, then you need to leave." But during the first part of it, I was asking what was making me sick. And I was looking around to see if there was something like air freshener or something that was, making me have that reaction. When we played back our recordings in our EVP, when I asked what was making me sick, we got a smart aleck remark. "Maybe it's your allergies." I was like, wow. I'll never forget that. I literally had this grumpy old man or whoever it was literally yell at me that it was probably my allergies making me sick. But that spirit did leave. They never bothered the family ever again. And to this day, the person is on my friends list. And anytime I'm feeling down or feeling like I want to quit, she reminds me how much I helped her family. And she is always so kind. And I'm always so thankful to have her there. But yeah, that was a really interesting case. And it wasn't the only one that I felt sick at. I felt sick at Mercedes before. And I felt sick at a couple other investigations. In fact, I did 2 investigations where Dead Files has gone, and one of them I was really sick at there too. So I do tend to get the blunt of things, so to say, and I don't like it when they make me feel sick or give me pain. I've been scratched, but that doesn't bother me. It's the feeling of being sick that I don't like.
I know exactly what you mean. When I go to pray for people and do deliverance ministry, if they are possessed, I get sick to my stomach, and I get dizzy, and the enemy tries to attack my speech. But we got to push through it. You know, when you're a warrior, you got to fight through it, right? But I hate that feeling too. That's the worst feeling in the world, being sick at your stomach.
Yeah.
Especially if you got something to do. I hate that. I absolutely hate that.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's one of the worst things.
Can you talk a little bit about your experiences here on this property?
Sure. So I've been out there. I don't even know how many times now, Mercedes, and we're going back out there Saturday. I know the first time I went out there, I remember having a nightmare that night. I do remember that. And I remember the nightmare of being thrown across the room. I remember that. That stuck with me. It's not very often I get nightmares, but I do remember that. Then there's a time that I went out there that I did get like sick to my stomach and a sharp pain like in my rib cage. I do remember that. But there's other times that I had been out there that have been very pleasant, very funny. Like the one time we were talking in the cabin and we heard footsteps come right up to the door, but no one entered. And no one was there, you know. And one time, I swear, I think the spirits got so sick of me going out there. They got bored of me because we did ask, because it was a very quiet night. And we were like, if you want us to leave, go ahead and make a loud noise. They made the loudest noise ever that night. So we were like, okay, we'll keep our promise. We'll leave. I literally think they got bored of me going out there. It's been a while. So hopefully they'll want to talk again when I go out there. But your property is definitely very interesting. We've heard little kids' voices. We've heard female voices, male voices. One of the funny ones was when we were there and your dogs would not stop barking. And I remember saying to the spirits, teasing around, going, hey, can one of you spirits go out there and make the dogs be quiet? And then we got the EVP that said Eli. And at the time, I did not know that you had a dog named Eli.
Yeah.
And so I found that so funny because I found that out like a few days after I had already listened to the EVP and heard Eli, that you had a dog named Eli. And I was like, wow. And there's like right after me asking them to, go out and tell the dogs to be quiet. So I thought that was really funny. They were trying to help us out by yelling at your dogs for us.
I know there's been so many. I'm just gonna confirm what's very interesting is that that was one of the things. The first thing she said was, I felt like I was tortured every single night with these dreams, and the shadow man would literally pick me up and throw me against the wall. And it was like every single night, and that was before the Dead Files when they came out. And so when she said that was like, wow, amazing. And then the thing about them with the footsteps at the door, that we had seen, my son had seen, the whole family had seen that little boy, and he just stood on the door and he opened the door and came in. There was no boy there though. And so that's something that they do. They still do this. They still open the doors and things like that all the time. But yeah, it's been quite an adventure, and it's been wonderful to see how the changes have occurred, from the original times when they came out to where it is now. So we'll see I've got the second documentary I'm working on, so I wanted to just kind of see. Everybody in the family said it was okay to try to, have her come back out again. We took a break, and I think we're all good, ready for one more time to see what happens. So it's exciting. Anyway, I just wanted to share that because it was very authentic. Everything they find is something that has happened here. So yeah.
That's awesome. So, did you all experience the walking up to the door together, or is it
Yeah.
just something? Oh, cool.
Yeah, Mercedes and I were actually, my team was in the car waiting for me to pack up and go. Mercedes and I were talking about something personal. I can't even remember what. And we're just sitting there talking back and forth. And we both just heard the footsteps. And I thought, oh, a team member is probably coming to ask me, if I'm ready to go yet. But no, they were in the car. And I asked, I'm like, did you see anyone, walk up? And they're like, no, no one walked up. But the footsteps were as clear as can be.
Wow, that's pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
So, let me ask you this: how do you? And I know a lot of I know a lot of people ask different questions, but my brain works differently than as being an investigator myself. And I know the things that I do, but what do you do to maintain your professionalism when your emotions are on high alert?
Good question.
Basically, what I do is I have to remove myself from the situation and let myself breathe and then go back. Now, I'm giving away my secret here, but I always tell my investigators if they feel threatened, they feel scared, never tell the client that that's what's going on, because we don't want to scare the client. So we just say, we need a break and step away. And basically that's what I do. I take a break and I step away and then I go back. There's only been one time that I haven't been able to go back in a situation. Otherwise, I always go back and face whatever challenge, that I've been dealt with, whatever's made me emotional, whatever has scratched me, whatever has, made me feel sick. But there's only one time I couldn't go back, and that was because it was a public ghost hunt. So I wasn't able to do that. And I had to leave the public ghost hunt because of the fact that people weren't taking it seriously and making fun of it. And me being the way I am, I could tell that the spirit was getting really upset. And both my husband and I saw the shadow and we saw where it was lingering. And I told my husband, I was like, we got to go because that spirit's getting really, really upset. And I don't want to be at the end of it. So we had to walk out. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to go back because, the other public, people on that ghost hunt kept going in there and kept making fun of it. So that was one area that I couldn't go back after feeling, those intense, emotions. But otherwise, I always face it. I just give myself a break and then I go back.
Good answer. Yeah, I do the same thing myself. There's times that we all have fears, and what I do as an exorcist, if you allow your fears to be worn on your sleeve, so to speak, they capitalize on that. That's why we fast, we pray, we go to confession, we take Holy Eucharist, and then we do our best to not get into any kind of verbal back and forth with the evil spirits, because they know how to use your own feelings against you. They recognize that through your body language and stuff like that, But that's what I do too. I walk away, come back. I don't just go take off running out of the house, because that wouldn't be very good. Be like,
the only time I've done that is if there's been a bug. I don't like bugs.
Well, okay. I don't like them either. Maybe we were doing group, and there was a little tiny spider on one of my clients, and they freaked out. Flipped it. I thought they threw it on me. She's like, I thought it was a black widow. It had a little white spot. I said, you're okay. Black widows have little red spots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like bugs either. Well, let's just talk a minute about everything under the moon.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Radio show. Tell us about your show and what inspired its creation.
This was another thing that kind of fell in my lap. I was doing my tours and, my paranormal team. And I can't remember if it was an email or a phone call, but I got contacted and they were like, hey, do you want to co-host? And at the time it was called Mysteries Explained. And I was like, I emailed back and I'm like, okay, what is it about? And they're like, it's up your alley. It deals with the paranormal, wanting to know if you want to co-host. And I was like, don't you want to interview me or anything? And they're like, no, just come in. And I was like, okay. So I went in and I did my first podcast. The guy was in charge of all the little gadgets, and I did 2 or 3 shows with him. And then he's like, here, it's yours. And I'm like, how do I work this? And then I brought in, at the time, we had a good friend of mine named Dave. And so him and I kind of like took it over. He was my co-host and we messed up a lot and we had to re-record some things. But we left that network and we ended up going to another network. And then, it went all over the place. But right around COVID, I decided to take a break from Mysteries Explained. And then I missed doing the podcast. I missed, talking to people, interviewing people, talking about the paranormal. So one thing I had realized about Mysteries Explained is we never explained anything and we always got off subject. So I decided I'm going to come back with everything under the moon. This way, if we get off subject, hey, we're talking about everything under the moon. So it works. And I've been back with that. We came back a couple years ago. I took a short break and now I'm back again. And we're doing episodes every other Monday. But I am taking October off and then we'll be back in November.
Awesome.
Yay.
So October's kind of like your busy month, right?
Yeah, I'm hoping. Those prayers and fingers crossed. I'm really hoping it is. But yeah, usually it is. Usually I always say that I don't have time to breathe in October. So I'm kind of hoping it's the same way. I take the first weekend in October off because that's my anniversary with my husband. But then I'm basically booked every other weekend. So.
Are you still doing the Tombstone? I know you did that like 2 years, I think.
We are still doing Tombstone. We have Haunted Arcade, which is at Hotel Tombstone, and Haunts of the Undertaker, which is at Undertaker's Espresso Bar, which used to be the actual Undertaker's. And those are both in Tombstone. And then I have Monday Booze, which is here in Tucson, which is downtown Tucson at JoJo's. And then, of course, my Tucson's Haunted History, which is the walking tour. And then I have a special event in October that we're working with the History Museum again, called Night at the Museum. I love the History Museum. I love history. I love museums. So I love being able to investigate there. That's like the coolest place to investigate. I love it.
And you've been doing that ever since I've known you, I think.
Yeah, it's been a few years. Tamara, who runs it, she used to work at Fox Theater, and I used to do things at Fox Theater with her. And then after COVID, she switched over to the History Museum, and I've been working with them pretty much ever since.
That's pretty
Wow.
cool.
See, those are all great.
See, when I come to Arizona, I want to go see Tombstone and all that,
Yeah.
I don't know. I may get out there and feel like Billy the Kid or something,
Tombstone's really cool. It's a little small. The only thing about Tombstone is after like 6 p.m., everything shuts down. So unless you're there to drink or ghost hunt, you're not going to have anything to do in Tombstone after 6.
Just walk around town,
Yeah, with everything closed.
Yeah,
Hey, you have experiences doing that. My daughter and I did. We were packing up one night from Undertaker's. And as we were going to the car, all of a sudden we smelled really intense, like I want to say cigar smoke. And we looked around and there was no one smoking, nothing, but it was intense. And it felt like it was right next to us, but no one was there.
Wow.
So yeah, walking around the town itself, you can have experiences. So
That's cool.
It's definitely the real town. It's the place all that happened.
That's so. I've never really talked about it, but I'm a big Western guy. I love John Wayne.
Me too.
One of my heroes passed today. Robert Redford passed away at the age of 89, and I'll never forget.
Robert Redford.
Oh yeah,
Kid.
Jeremiah Johnson.
Jeremiah Johnson. Oh,
I love that show. I used to get upset because my wife always talked about how good looking he was when he was younger. And I was jealous of Robert Redford. But who wasn't, right? Robert Redford was a good looking guy. Even in his 80s, he was a good looking man. So I hope I look like that if I live to be that age. I hope that I look that way, but it doesn't look like it's heading that way. So,
well, you mentioned John Wayne. John Wayne has a lot of connections out here in Tucson.
yes.
In fact, the Fox Theater, he would watch some of his premieres at the Fox Theater, and he would have his own special seat at the Fox Theater.
cool.
Yeah. So he has a lot of connections to Tucson, which, we think maybe he haunts it too. So, who knows?
That would be so cool, because John Wayne, I watch Bonanza, of course, Michael Landon. I could binge watch that stuff. There was a show out a few years ago called Longmire about this country sheriff. And I absolutely love that show. I binge watched. I watched like the first 3 seasons in one night. So, well, maybe not that many, but first 2 at least. I just couldn't stop watching. So my grandfather raised me to love country, or not country, but country westerns. I like country too, but old country. So just a quick question, because this is in my mind too. What was your most memorable interview from Everything Under the Moon?
Oh, geez. I have to say it actually goes back to Mysteries Explained. And it's a really funny one because we interviewed Adam Berry. And it was so hilarious because that was the time that Dave and I messed it up. So we had to pre-record the show, and we're talking to Adam, and we're going on and on about Adam, and he's the sweetest guy, and he talks a lot, and he's so cool. But then when we went to actually air the podcast, our part of it wasn't there. We were silenced. So it was only Adam Berry talking. So I had to go back in the studio and I had to listen to Adam's questions and remember, what did I ask him? What did I ask him? And I had to record my part of it, of me asking him questions so we could get the whole thing together again in time to air. So that I will never forget because of the fact that we messed it up and we had to totally redo it.
Oh my God.
Only our part of it. Adam's part was perfect. Our part of it sucked.
What was you like talking, but they couldn't hear your voice?
Adam could hear us. It's just we had our microphones silenced, apparently. So when it recorded, even though Adam could hear us, the recording wasn't picking us up.
Oh.
So we were on mute, but Adam wasn't. So all of Adam's stuff was perfect, thank goodness. But our part was not. So it was so funny because I'm like in there and I had to go into the studio like early. And I think I was there like 2 hours early and I'm like listening to everything. And I'm like, oh, what did I ask? What did I ask? Okay, this is what I asked. And then I had to hurry up and put it in there and edit everything. And it was a pain in the butt, but it turned out fine. And I'm so thankful because I mean, how often do you get a chance to, interview someone like Adam Berry? I didn't want to totally screw it up.
Well, that shows your talent, though, to be able to go back in and put the voice to it.
Yeah. It was a challenge.
Wow.
Yeah, I ended up laughing my butt off afterwards, but it was stressful. But we got it through. Unfortunately, I don't even think you can find those episodes anymore. They were on a local network, and that local network just kind of went bye-bye. So those episodes aren't even around. And I had interviewed so many stars. Like I had interviewed Adam Berry, Amy Allen, Steve DeShavi. Oh gosh, there's a couple others too. Chad. There's several like stars that I had interviewed for that show because I was really good friends with their talent agent, and all those shows are like gone now, and I'm so upset because they were so good. But yeah, what can you do?
That's bad.
I know that made me so sad when I found out that they can't be found anywhere. So
that is awful. It makes you mad.
Yeah, especially all that hard work I had to do with the re-editing. But
Kind of makes you wonder if that's what happens to these old Chinese kung fu movies. If they mute the mic and you see their mouth move, then they add the audio to it, you know? That'd be cool if you could find that video and go back and make it into like an old Chinese fighting style.
Yeah, there you go.
How are you doing tonight? You know, this. I love this. I'm so glad you're here tonight. It's just this is a wonderful show.
Thank you.
And you got to come back. We still got about 10 minutes, so I'm not saying we're done, but you definitely got to come back. It's a good vibe here. I like this.
I try.
Well, Becky, is there anything that you would like to talk about, that we haven't talked about, or you want to talk about, where people can find you and just things like that? I know we've already said it, but we've got a lot of people that are actually on the chat now. So thank you to Lorraine. Thank you to Vincent. Thank you to Bobby. Thank you to, Vincent. He's so great. He's in New York. He has my book, the prayer and fasting book. And this man is a walking billboard of prayer and fasting, my book. He'll be walking around telling people all about prayer and fasting and my book. And it's so great. I mean, I was like, wow, how nice is that? So yeah, he's been watching all these videos. I mean, not videos, but the shows. He's been keeping track of our shows now. So I really appreciate it. Lorraine, and then we had Bobby. So Bobby's from Warrior Mode. She was one of our Bill being Warrior Modes.
Yeah.
Really awesome. So you got some people watching you, Becky. Is there anything you want to talk about, say before you go and have to go home and go to sleep in Tucson?
Well, basically, some of the things that I always promote is, of course, my company. And I want to support other local companies. That is so important to me. You can find me at TucsonGhostCompany.com, and that tells you everything. That tells you about my team, everything I offer with my company, special events. I believe there's even a link to the show. And
I put that in the chat. I put it in the chat.
Yeah. That's so important to always, look for the local little ghost tour, because they don't have that money to advertise like these, nationwide things. And the ones that are local, they take the time, they study the history, they put their heart and soul into these things. These other people use like AI. So if you're going to do something local, of course you're going to want, to do it by a local person. And my husband just walked in. Hey, Will, you want to say hi?
Hi, Will.
Hello.
Happy late birthday.
But definitely shop local. I also like to promote to look into the paranormal teams if you want help. Mine never charges. Mine's scientific. You don't want someone that's going in and going to call everything demonic or a ghost. So do your research. Research is so important. And then the last thing I like to promote is honestly to just be kind and respectful, especially in the paranormal field, but in real life too. If you want to do this, you definitely need to be respectful to the spirits. I hate seeing people that go in there, act like they know everything, and they're like threatening the spirits. You don't want to do that. You don't want to assume that they're evil. You don't want to assume, that there's something that they're not. You want to be respectful. And I've done like things like old jails. And even then I go in there and I'm like, I don't care what you did. I don't care what you're here for. I'm just here to talk to you. Always show that respect. And that goes for, everything, not just the paranormal. Respect and kindness goes a long way.
Yes, you're right. So true.
And I think it's really neat that you shared, and both of you shared about your thoughts on religion and the different things, because I was really shocked, Becky, when I first I saw Archbishop Ronald Enright on Warrior Mode one time, and I was like listening to him, and I was thinking, what did he just say? He's talking about paranormal. They work with paranormal and all these things, and psychics or intuitives. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And so I reached out to him, and then, it's just like fate. And then I, meet Bishop Joshua, and the whole team. But they welcome this. A lot of the questions that we have on the Unseen Realm, which is on Saturdays at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, every Saturday on Facebook and different platforms. My little commercial. But we talk about all of these things, don't we, Bishop Joshua?
Absolutely, we do. Yes.
Oh my gosh! And then our Dr. Adrian, he is a renowned past life regression therapist. You know, he's got movies, documentaries, and this man, we go in. He gives us another look into his life's work. There's one exorcist on there. He's 96 years old. It's our Dr. Reverend Glenn.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? And he's just like he could go on another 100 years the way he is. It's amazing. So yeah, so it's really neat that, you know, I think that's what's happening. I think people will start coming together and realizing that we just have to follow God. You know, we just have to be with God and all this other stuff. You don't have to be so mean. It's the people that can be mean. They were mean to you. Then why? You know, they shouldn't be. You know, people just
jealousy is what it is. It's jealousy. Well, I'm serious. If somebody else is doing something, they're exceptional at it, and they're being successful. People get jealous. You know, and it's
she's
okay
good at this. She's really good. She's like, I'm like, whoa, Becky's amazing. I mean, she's like in charge of all these people and everything. You know, all the cameras. She's amazing.
But you know, in spite of all that jealousy, Becky knows that you can't let someone steal your humility and your respect for people and your dignity. You know, we have to be honest about everything that we do, and we have to have integrity. And integrity means doing what's right even when nobody's looking, and doing what's right even when nobody else is doing it. So if you have a philosophy that you stand behind and something that keeps you grounded and something that keeps you focused on what you do, stand behind it. Don't let anybody stop you from standing behind your principles and your values, you know, because if you sell that out, what else are you going to sell out?
Exactly. I agree. And, you know, with everything that's been happening lately, it drives me crazy because all I've been doing is like preaching kindness. I'm not even, you know, preaching anything else. And I've had people freaking unfriend me and block me just for saying, be kind, you know, be compassionate, you know, be respectful. And people don't even like that. And it's like, you expect people to bend on that? I'm like, that's sad. I won't bend on that. I'm like, I will preach that until the day I die. You want that kindness. You want the respect. You want the compassion. You know, and I will stand on any soapbox given to say that that's what we need in this world. And you definitely need to put out what you want back. Apparently, a lot of people want bad things back, but I don't. You know, that's not something that I want to put out there at all. So,
yeah, we had a bad enough time. I know Becky and I, during the pandemic, when I first met her during the pandemic, you know, she and I were both like, I don't know what just happened to our worlds. I mean, our worlds were just like, whoop, you know, like both. My world was like just her world, the same thing. We're like, wow, I don't know. What do we do next? You know, when we're talking about our lives. So here we are. It's 2025. And lots of good things are happening, Becky. Good things will happen for you. They are.
I hope so.
You got to just stay strong, and you know, people like listen to this. You should see the chat. People are loving this. They're saying this is so fun. So you're gonna have to come back on again. And I swear to God, when my documentary comes out, whenever that is, it's supposed to come out sometime. You're a big part of it, and I just love you and I appreciate you so much.
Oh, thank you.
And I both do. The whole family, you know, we just really appreciate you. And thank you for being here. I'm so glad, Joshua. I thought you were amazing too.
Yes, very much so.
Well, thank you both. I appreciate it.
Come back like during the December or something, or you know, I know November might get busy. Who knows? I don't know what their schedule is. I think we're getting booked up through. We may be booked up through November. I can't even remember. But
I'm glad that you take care of all that because I can't even. I can't even keep everything together over here. And she's like, she gets it all together. And every now and then, she's like, who do you want me to bring on here? And I'm like, well, kind of a loss for words. I'm kind of new to this, really. I'm just the new kid on the block, you know?
I gotta say though, what I kept hearing, I'd interviewed him a few times, and I heard that he used to have a show, and the heartfelt feelings he had about this past show, which was called "Explaining the Unexplainable." And when I decided, God said to me, Holy Spirit said, "Why don't you just shift your show, the other one, Mercedes Lucke Benedict show, and then see if he would like to do a show, and we'll call it that name." And that's what we did. He said yes right away, and then I think it's been a great run for us. I've had so much fun talking about things like these cryptids and the Bigfoot. And it's just like,
UFOs.
The UFOs. Yeah.
Now, what if Bigfoot was an alien and that's why people can't find him?
Hey, I think he's going through portals. That's what I think.
Could be. I never used to believe in UFOs until COVID, and me and my dad and my youngest son stand on the porch videotaping these things. And my dad was a big skeptic, and probably 6-8 months ago, he was driving down the road, and he said he's seen this ball of light come down out of the sky, and when it turned, it looks like something off Star Wars. It was a big ship. He saw the whole ship. And my daddy to say that, my daddy's a big skeptic. And when he saw that, he was sold out. He said, yeah, there's something out there very big.
Wow. I just love that. I mean, how cool is that? That just started the pandemic was a life changer for the ones that survived.
Who would ever thought it would be over? I thought it was never going to end.
Yeah. But hey, it did, and America's winning.
Yeah.
America. Yay.
I love America.
I love Becky and Will love America too. Their family loves America. Well, we better go because Stan, we all know Stan. He's probably getting tired.
Oh, yeah. Stan can pull the plug.
So we better, Bishop Joshua, do you want to do a quick prayer, and you can add Becky's prayer in that? Okay, everybody, let's do a quick prayer before we take a
pray. Our Father in heaven, we're truly thankful for this wonderful, wonderful, precious sister that we've had on with us here tonight, Sister Becky. We pray, God, that you remove any fear, any doubt, God, that you remove any obstacles out of her way. Send forth your angels, God, to push the darkness away so that she might be able to continue doing the things that she loves to do and the things that she's good at. And God, we praise you now for it because we believe that it's done. And we ask, God, that you continue to bless all of our family members, our children. God, bless our spouses. Bless the work that we do, that it might bring glory and honor and praise to you. Bless our country, God. God, there's a lot of things going on in America, but still it's the greatest place to live. And I thank you for such a wonderful place to call home. Let your spirit rest upon us tonight. Give us rest. Give us peace. We ask all these things in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Woohoo! All right. Thank you, Becky.
Thank you, Becky.
Thank you, Joshua. Thank you, Stan. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, Web Radio Network. Thank you, everybody that's watching and comes on and on the chat. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Really, we do. And everyone that's going to watch this later, whatever time, thank you for watching too. And God bless everybody. Good night.
We love you all. Ciao.
Ciao.